Welcome to today's session on securing mission critical operations with emerging transport technologies. I'd like to hand over now to Tejas Networks. Samantha, please start presenting.
Thank you, Stuart. Hi, uh, I am Somnath. I work for Tejas Network in the technology office, and I look into all aspect of technology and security in the telecom infrastructure. Thank you. So today we're going to talk about uh, uh, the agenda is how is the uh, critical infrastructure, security aspect in the critical infrastructure and utility sector is important. Is becoming increasingly important. What are the challenges, and what are the various technology available for the transport in the uh, utility sector? And we will end the session with comparing pros and cons of various technology in the utility sector, and from the perspective of security. Thank you. So we can look at telecommunication infrastructure as a lifeline of the utility sector. Ut- the utility sector uses uh, the communication infrastructure for two different purposes. One is for their operational technology, which is critical control infrastructure to control the utility infrastructure, and the other one is for information technology. There is increasingly need to converge these two infrastructure into one unified infrastructure, but there are challenges that it presents. The challenges is that as you modernize and converge the uh, information technology or IT infrastructure with the operational technology infrastructure, uh, and converge them around mostly packet technology. It makes life easier. You can apply automation tool. Backup becomes easier, but it also brings in increased threat uh, to the security. It makes of the infrastructure. It makes it more vulnerable. So moving on to the next slide. So if you look at the utility 1.0, the critical requirement there was to have rapid recovery in the event of failures, and an always on robust fault tolerant infrastructure meeting stringent performance requirement. And uh, as we move to utility 2.0, um, it everything is converging around packet technology, ethernet and IP technology, and then a transition path to the new technology and convergence of IT and OT traffic onto a common converged, or at least integration of the IT infrastructure with the OT infrastructure is what is the requirement, with a view of operational efficiencies, um, scalability, and improved uh, security. So, if you look at the technology, we have had native TDM services, for example, voice and SCADA in power utility sector, and then IP and Ethernet infrastructure for IT, both running in parallel. From there, we are looking at how that can be all integrated into a common packet infrastructure, and the TDM would turn into circuit emulated traffic, and added to that is video surveillance traffic on the common converged packet infrastructure. When we looked at transport infrastructure, there is a clear transition of transport technology based on SDH, Sonnet SDH, to packet oriented transport technology, uh, such as MPLS based technology or carrier Ethernet based technology. And then medium, changing from copper uh, to fiber and microwave. All three mediums were used earlier, but now we are seeing convergence around fiber, and copper is virtually disappearing, uh, leaving to uh, uh, leading to optical fiber in access, optical fiber in the aggregation, and optical fiber in the core network. So, if you look at the cyber security trends, we have seen that there is an increased breach of data in the industry, in the various industry such as energy and healthcare, uh, and the trend has been on the upswing. Coupled to that, there have been a recent cyber attack, which high profile cyber attack in utility sector. In India, we've had power grid infrastructure being targeted by suspected Chinese hackers in an apparent attempt to lay the groundwork for possible future. So there was some scanning attack done in the recent time. Then we have very high profile attack in May on Colonial Pipeline, the ransomware attack, where the attack was on the IT infrastructure, essentially one of those billing servers. And but as part of the operational procedure, they had to shut down the operational network as well, leading to significant loss. And so it's becoming increasingly commonplace that IT infrastructure gets basically attacked, and that has a ramification in the operational infrastructure or operational technology infrastructure as part of their standard operating procedures. So, what are the transport technology in the utility sector? If you look at the whole uh, gamut of the transport technology in the utility sector, it can be segmented into, right, starting from the bottom layer to, say, on optical fiber, you have a DWDM technology, and then on top you got the classical transport technology, Sonnet and SDH, which is still present in utilities and critical infrastructure sector. Then you got the newer high performance transport technology, OTN, um, and then packet based technology, which is MPLS transport profile, and then you got IP based technology such as IP routing and over MPLS. So these are the various options. If you look at it pictorially, it looks like this particular picture here. So bottom layer is layer 0, photonic layer on top of optical fiber. And on the left hand side, we look at the type of attack or vulnerability in the infrastructure. On the right hand side, we see the possible threat mitigation. So, for example, if you look at the fiber based infrastructure with photonic layer or DWDM layer, we are looking at threats such as fiber tapping, uh, uh, signal splitting, and the mitigation is basically using various techniques such as uh, analytic supported OTDR. I'll come to that a little bit later when I discuss on the optical technology. Uh, Linear scattering effect, which is predominant scattering effect in the optical fiber. how things like coherent detection and the newer generation cryptography, which is quantum cryptography, can mitigate some of these effects at the physical layer. Next, we look at things like a transport layer, which is layer one, which is basically sub wavelength layer. At this layer, the transmission is digital, and it is groomed into smaller digital channels, either OTN channels such as ODU zeros or ODU K channels, or SONET SDH channels as in path layer. These sub wavelength channels can be encrypted uh, in either client layer encryption or the entire uh, section layer encryption. Uh, which is called bulk encryption, line or section layer encryption, that provides security for the transmission layer. Um, as part of the digital transmission, the scrambling of the signal is used. So that itself provides a layer of uh, a particular layer of the security in the transport infrastructure, classical transport. Then we come to packet oriented transport. The whole packet technology can be divided into two layers: connection oriented packet layer, which is connection oriented Ethernet technology, which is for example MPLS transport profile, which is at the layer 2. And then connectionless packet technology, which is layer 3, where the internet protocol works at. And then on top of that, we have layer 4 or higher layer, which is application layer. So at each of those layer, we have a different distinct security consideration. At the transport layer, connection oriented, you have a possibility of say MAC spoofing, but the fact that it is connection oriented, it does mean that the impact of the spoofing is limited only to user's own connection, right? Especially in point-to-point connection, the risk is really not serious. In multi-point connection oriented infrastructure, you can have a MAC spoofing attack. And the mitigation is the data and control layer encryption, multi-segment pseudo wire stitching. So you stitching at the boundaries, um, and that is driven from a centralized network management system. At the IP layer, you have a dynamic control plane, which is peer-to-peer control plane. And there is a lot of IP spoofing and routing attacks possible because of the nature of the protocol and peer-to-peer nature. You expect to trust the peer and exchange the routing table and the network state information with the peer. However, if there's a peer that is compromised, then that can lead to getting the network information, receiving or sending the network information to untrusted party. Here again, the data plane is secured at the encryption uh, uh, using encryption technology and at the layer 3 or IP layer, and that is IPsec. In the IPv4 realm, in the IPv6, you have basically inbuilt security of the IPv6 payload. Then coming at the application layer, there are a lot of attacks possible like spam, phishing, malware, and that's where application layer security, authentication control, and the application layer encryption, such as SSL, TLS, uh, uh, are used to mitigate the risk. Moving on to the next slide. Here is a chart showing the comparison between security aspect of a connection-oriented packet technology versus connection-less packet technology. So connection-oriented technology in general is less vulnerable because of a connection is has to be established before the traffic can flow, and it's well known where the connection has to be. The scope of connection is known as point A and point B. Um, in connectionless, you user simply attaches to cloud, and there is no pre-established scope limitation in terms of where the user may or may not communicate. Hence, is inherently, just because of the connection-less nature, it is more vulnerable. Other aspects to be considered is that requires connection-oriented technology requires the CPE to be authenticated in some manner using automatic configuration servers, Radius, or .1x, and most importantly, the user or third-party network devices attached to the network at a secure user network interface. In connection less, you just assume peer-to-peer connection, and a peer-to-peer control plane is used to basically peer. This peer-to-peer connection can be secured through encryption technology such as MD5, but in connection oriented, there is no control plane interaction that is supposed to take place at the uni. The control plane is only internal to the network to establish path if it is there. Other aspect is rigid path definition, well-defined forwarding scope, and universal address space reduce uh, the scope and nature of cyber attack. Whereas cloud nature of the connectionless technology without any restriction on forwarding scope allows access to all parts of the network, making snooping and spoofing easy. Examples of connection-oriented technology is MPLS-TP is a packet-based connection-oriented technology, and then you got traditional SONET SDH and OTN and photonic layer DW. These are all connection-oriented technology, and IP and related technology is connection less. Point to cloud attachment technology. So DWDM consideration for utility. So what does DWDM network do? So DWDM network essentially is a multiplexing technology that converts a single physical fiber into multiple logical fiber by using the wavelength. And essentially, it is um, dividing one single physical fiber plant into logically uh, different fibers, basically, which can be used to separate the domain actually. For example, operational technology domain and the IT technology domain can be completely physically separated, or um, it's a logical separation, but works almost like physical separation on the same fiber plant without any interaction, and thus has a natural ability to enhance the security. Once things are not really connected, like operational technologies domain versus IT technology domain, then they are inherently more secure. So it facilitates convergence as well, because IT and OT domain can coexist on the same physical fiber but still be sliced separately. um, so that is one advantage. So different domains and different applications can use different wavelengths on the same physical, but still without any interaction between them, enhancing security. Moving on to the um, how security aspect of fiber optics and DWDM system. Fiber optic system are generally more susceptible to signal losses. So every fiber bend and splice causes signal loss, which impacts the signal quality. Hence, there is a natural protection against fiber tapping and extraction of user information, because it simply increases the optical losses or decreases the optical signal noise ratio, right? Uh, Due to also various effects such as non-linear linear scattering, such as Rayleigh uh, scattering. There are various tools and techniques that can be used to enhance the security in fiber system. One such technique that is commonly used is couple the OTDR, optical time domain reflectometry, with a sophisticated analytics monitoring tool, which can actually monitor the signal of a fiber optical system, or a fiber or wavelength uh, for at the time of installation and commissioning, and then compare that as the time goes on. And when there is measured data deviates from the original data by a certain amount, at an certain threshold is violated, an alarm can be raised, minimizing the chances of fiber tapping or wavelength tapping actually, using any such method such as uh, fiber tapping or using splitters, signal splitters. Uh, Further, in the modern coherent high-speed optical system, there is a natural security built in due to the loss of coherence at the receiver and change in the channel characteristic when someone tries to tamper with the optical signal flowing over the fiber actually by way of splicing, tapping, or uh, wavelength splitting actually. This is especially true if pre-distortion techniques are being used in digital domain, digital processing for signal processing, because the pre-distortion technique works on the principle of establishing the channel characteristic in advance and adjusting for it actually for a reliable transmission. So someone trying to tap it will cause the either loss in coherence, phase, or amplitude deviation, or even the channel characteristic, noise characteristic uh, change, which can be easily detected in a coherent system. In a military grade and high security installation, quantum cryptography can add additional security where basically the key information, symmetric key information, is sent through the uh, through a separate channel, and which is sent a single photon or a limited number of photons are sent actually. So someone tries to temper that kind of system will basically change the angular momentum of the photon actually, which will lead to received data being violated actually. So very secure system. When we look at OTN technology, OTN technology is the sub-wavelength technology where each optical channel is divided into a number of sub-wavelength channel, and it usually is realized as a number of such sub-wavelength channels and a cross connect on top of a optical photonic layer, and it can serve as a foundation for all other technology such as legacy SONET, STH, packet-based technology such as MPLS, carrier Ethernet, and IP-based services. Control plane of this network is usually SON and GMPLS. However, this is not exposed to user attaching to the network, providing security. So yeah, the OTN layer, which is sub-web layer, there are two ways we can provide security. One is the way where you can encrypt the client signal on a per channel basis, and this has its own advantage because at the at the network level, at the line level, the section level, you can pass the signal through multiple optical cross connects without having to uh, be bothered about that one particular or few particular client signals are encrypted. Another level is the bulk encryption, which is basically encrypting the entire wavelength, such as 100 gig to 100 wavelength. And this has its own advantage because then everything that goes through that wavelength is encrypted, and uh, uh, that has the disadvantage is that you need to it is a point to point system. You This kind of system cannot be um, cross connected because information is lost. The entire channel is, including the header, uh, is encrypted actually. Then uh, various ways to handle such a system. You can have a configuration and key handling. The symmetric key crypto algorithm is used. Keys are rotated under hardware control based on programmable periodicity with hitless operation. And overhead bytes are used to signal secure markers, which delivers a hitless key change rotation and robust security. Moving on to the OTN encryption, the bulk encryption can be enabled, disabled on a per network port basis with unique encryption keys. Client encryption can be enabled, disabled on a per client port basis with a unique. So both has advantage and disadvantages. Bulk and client encryption are agnostic to client types. So moving to the packet transport technology, MPLS TP or transport profile is the established connection oriented technology in the packet realm, where connection is established along the predetermined work and protect path. This work and protect path provides sub 50 millisecond protection switching, which is triggered by in-band ONM. And there is no control plane interaction with the end user, leading to inherent security. And NMS is used to centralize and network management system for centralized provisioning. This type of system provides a carrier grade 5.9 availability for critical infrastructure and is very common and popular in the utilities and critical infrastructure sector as an underlying infrastructure for packet. So the advantage of this type of system in utility sector is that it actually provides similar reliability and um, capability as traditional time-tested SONET SDH network. Uh, it provides packet-based synchronization such as 1588 V2, also synchronous Ethernet, and it modern power sector applications such as synchro phasor and a line differential protection require stringent time accuracy of 1 microsecond actually timing accuracy. So this kind of thing is actually can be met by this packet transport technology only, connection oriented packet technology. And uh, traditional connection less technology is unable to meet such requirement. So here is differentiating the two types of packet transport technology. One is connection oriented MPLS TP transport profile, and the other is IP-MPLS. Both are established by IETF standards, um, and the origin of MPLS transport profile is in the ITU, but final standardization is done by the IETF. So traffic engineering is supported in both the technology, but in MPLS TP, it is bidirectionally congruent, meaning that the forward and reverse path are established simultaneously, and then pseudo wires are mapped on top of it. In IP-MPLS, it is unidirectional, not really bidirectional. Sub 50 millisecond protection switching, multi-segment protection is available, and the complex protocol interaction in both the directions are needed to achieve the similar impact on the IP-MPLS. So provisioning is through the centralized network management system, and in the connectionless IP MPLS, the provisioning is through dynamic peer-to-peer control plane. Traditional legacy services can be established through the circuit emulation um, and packet synchronization. The same is available in IP-MPLS as well, but then the performance is basically due to the connection less nature of it, or asymmetric nature of the tunnel is not very scalable. The strong in-band operational um, uh, administration and maintenance protocol features are there as by design in the transport profile. And that one in the IP-MPLS case, these are something which are optional. So both technologies have their strength. Um, Usually, the transport technology is preferred as a foundational technology in the utility sector. So This is the reason because of the ease of operation is very similar to Sonnet SDH. Um, it is used by many operators of critical infrastructure and utility. Sigri is one such company which is using this technology, and fundamental reason is that deliver fast multiple fiber cut protection through in a very deterministic way, and operates. You know exactly when the circuit is created, how the circuit will behave, and how it is routed, what will be the performance of that particular circuit. In case of IP/MPLS, the circuit is automatically reroutable through any part of the network using dynamic protocol. So you don't really have full control uh, about the user, or the network management system don't have complete control about the circuit. The circuit is in the control of the control plane. So makes the operational environment more complex uh, from a transport technology perspective. Um, North American Electric Reliability Corporation is another example of a utility which is using the transport profile, and it mandates strict compliance to multiple cybersecurity standards. If critical asset is accessible through a routable protocol, which is the case in case of connectionless, because remember, in the connectionless, you connect a point is connected to a cloud. So you really don't have a point to point or point to multi-point connection. You are connecting to a cloud, and then you will get routed to any point in the cloud. So that brings in security vulnerability, and uh, uh, because you a hacker or a, a cyber criminal has to connect to only one point in the network, and it has the access through the routable protocol or control plane to any part of the network, which is not the case in case of a connection oriented technology such as MPLS-TP. You really need to have from a point of attachment to the other point of connection established, and that is driven centrally. So it is inherently more secure. There's no routing protocol such as BGP, OSPF, or RSVPT involved, which dynamically routes the traffic from point of attachment to any parts of the network. So, due to this reason, MPLS-TP offers a better security than IP/MPLS, and is preferred for the critical infrastructure. Sonet SDH is a classic warhorse, and has proven its reliability. It is the gold standard when it comes to reliability, 5.9 and sub 50 millisecond recovery times. All the packet technologies are both connection oriented and connectionless, are trying to achieve this um, level of reliability. Um, the best thing about this is it is highly deterministic, and provide very secure network infrastructure. So there is a talk about transition. So when we look at the transition, uh, Sonet STS technology, that technology can transition to either OTN based infrastructure, which is friendly to packet technology and Ethernet technology, and still maintaining operational characteristic very similar to Sonet HDs, or it can migrate to packet-based technology. In that case, it has to migrate to connection-oriented technologies with a fine control of packet network characteristic, which is MPLS transport profile. So it is not advisable to migrate that Sonet SDH network in utility to connectionless packet framework, because of the security risk that we talked about, uh, of attaching a point to a cloud, and then traffic can get routed to any point. It brings in massive security vulnerability along with it. If at all, a packet connectionless infrastructure can be overlaid on top of connection oriented infrastructure, which can be either OTN or PTN. So that is the way most of the utilities and critical infrastructure is going. So, in conclusion, what we see is that a high profile cyber attack in utility critical infrastructure is on the rise. Um, and even though IT technology and operational technology systems are not connected for the most of the critical infrastructure like gas pipeline, fuel pipeline, power grids, and railroads, critical railroad control infrastructure. They are kept separate from the information technology infrastructure. The fact of the matter is that both end up getting affected because IT technology is mostly based on connectionless paradigm. It uses IP and Ethernet and maybe MPLS also in the WAN, and it is most often than not connected to internet. So anything connected to internet is easily accessible because a user any part of the world has to just get routed to the IT system through IP network routing protocols such as BGP, OSPF, ISIS. Now, how does OT get affected? Because once the IT infrastructure or servers and systems are connected, most of the billing systems, backend infrastructures are IT based. So even though your operational control infrastructure is on a separate system, uh, it is somehow integrated uh, through OSS, BSS layer or API layer to the operational technology system. And when that is integrated, there is a chance that you can hop from one server to another server through use of malware or a Trojan, and then compromise the data actually, or even launch denial of service attack. So this is exactly what happened in Colonial Pipeline case, where the user had access to their billing server, and the billing server actually got compromised actually. Now, since billing server is operationally integrated to the operational system, operational system also had to be shut down. The reason being that if you don't shut down operational system, you will not be able to bill. And also, if the user has access to the billing system is integrated, user may even gain access. If they gain access to the threat may go into the operational, and further damage can be done. So as we integrate, as we move to IP world, as we bring in more connectionless technology and connect more the systems, the risk increases. So increase IPification, increase integration of IT and OT system, machine computer driven automation, and backups, automated backup rather than manual backup of the critical infrastructure. And in future, there is a talk of Internet of Thing, which in the context of utility infra and critical infrastructure means that the small network devices and control devices embedded into various machines and other infrastructure, to so industrial in IoT systems, which are all connected together, all bring in increased vulnerability. So we have to have a layered network architecture where you have fiber optic layer and the security, mindful, well-designed security, not as an afterthought, but as a well-planned. Then on top of that, um, the DWDM OTN technology as a TDM connection oriented, then packet connection oriented technology, and then we need to have a hardware slice logically partitioned connectionless protocols like IP. Uh, at, on top of that, on the need basis, actually connected only where it need to be connected. This type of thinking basically improves the network security for the critical infrastructure. In general, connection oriented transport technology, uh, starting from DWDM, OT, and MPLS, provide better and superior security framework for critical infrastructure because they have ability to do the what slicing or partitioning, hard partitioning of the network infrastructure, be it fiber, be it channel, um, or be it a connection. uh, without uh, routing capability. That means the connections are not routable to any other point in the network with a predetermined community of interest or exchange of data. So authentication of network element, rigid path definition, universal address space, n- no peer-to-peer control plane to target DOS and DDoS attack. All of this reduce cyber attack actually. And then finally, having encryption technology at appropriate layers from the photonic to optical transport network OTN layer, both at the bulk, at the client layer, then Ethernet and IP layer actually. So with proper attention to network architecture, uh, the critical infrastructure can be secured in a proper way without compromising on the convergence uh, and simplification of the network. So thank you so much.